All right, we are in fact now joined by the former Eskom CEO and former head of generation, Matshela Koko, to also weigh in on the power utilities decision to implement stage 6 rolling blackouts, but to also respond, of course, to Professor Sampson Mampweri. Well, you've got your right to respond then. So let's start then by talking about what was said. According to Professor Sampson, the energy expert from Stellenbosch, who you're responding to, he says that the demand of electricity has in fact escalated from the time when you were in charge compared to now, where there's more demand due to increased population and other factors. And in fact, if I can just quote him, he said you were not, you can't say you were the best CEO ever, is what was said.
Hello, Flo, can you hear me?
Yes, I've asked the question at this point. You have your right to respond to what Professor Sampson had to say there. He has said that the reason why you're able to tweet what you've said in terms of talking about where Eskom is at the moment is that demand for electricity has in fact escalated as compared to the time that you were in charge, compared to now where there's more demand for electricity, and that the population and other factors are playing a part in this. What do you make of that statement?
South Africans have got a reason to be worried if such people are the ones that are sitting with the president to resolve the electricity crisis. Here is a fact, and go and check it, and it's documented and it's undisputed. In 2017, the demand in my time, during my tenure, was 35,800 megawatts. It is despicable for a professor that is assisting the president to come on national television and say, Mr. Koko has never seen 30,000 megawatts. We have met a peak in 2017 and 2016-2017 of more than 35,800 megawatts. There has never been a peak since I left Eskom of more than 35,800 megawatts. As a matter of fact, the highest peak in 2021 was 35,000. We have met 35,800 megawatts with a plant availability factor of 13% and 12% in 2016-2017 respectively, which is the highest ever in the history of Eskom. And we have done so with burning only 10 million liters of diesel in 12 months, when currently 54 million liters of diesel is burned to keep the lights on, and we still get to stage 6. Yeah. So South Africans should be very, very worried that a professor comes on national television to lie, and the same professor sits with the president to try to solve the South African energy crisis. It's despicable.
Yeah, you know, he also alluded to the fact, and I think this is something that, you know, you've been accused of in the past, the issue of the infrastructure, that it has shown that it is in need of repairs, that it needs maintenance. In fact, if I remember correctly, what Prof. Sampson had said there was that the current management is in fact battling a system that was neglected for a long time, and that you were right there during the times that the problems did arrive. So he's actually trying to say that you left the system the way that it was, unrepaired, neglected for a long time. Is there any truth to that? Because he's saying, yeah, you can say that there was no load shedding during your time, but the fact is that you left the system broken and neglected as it was. What do you say in response to that? And I think a lot of people have kind of said that, you know, when they're talking about your time at Eskom.
Yeah, the beauty of the position I find myself in is that Judge Mwepe adjudicated on this question. Judge Mwepe is a former judge president of Gauteng Division. And Judge Mwepe has said, anybody who says Mr. Koko did not do maintenance during his tenure is basically lying, because that is not supported by the audited financial statement of Eskom. A judge of the High Court has put that to bed. It is again despicable for a professor to come on TV and put questions that have been settled by a judge. Judges are the final arbiters of dispute. The judge has looked at the Eskom Eskom audited statements, has looked at the question of maintenance at Eskom, and has concluded that during Mr. Koko's time, there was an increase and a sustained maintenance. It's a judge of the High Court. We must respect him.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your tenure then, Mr. Koko. Okay, you've put up a tweet saying the following. You've said that the current CEO of Eskom burns 54 million litres of diesel every month and that we still get stage 6 blackouts. You also said that during your tenure, Eskom burned 10 million litres of diesel in 12 months without those very same blackouts. So let's talk about it then. I mean, what do you believe you were doing differently, and what were you, I'll say, doing right then, according to you, during that time that we didn't have the kind of blackouts that or load shedding that we're currently experiencing?
It will assist South Africans if we can be fact-based. During my time, there was no load shedding between 2009 and 2014. It's a fact. There was no load shedding. There was no load shedding between 2009 and 2014. We had load shedding in 2014 that lasted until the 8th of August 2015. And the reason for that is because we had a Majuba coal silo collapsing. That took away 3,600 megawatts out of the system. It is more than the required reserve margin of 2,200 megawatts. In my time, we fixed the coal silo and we recovered the 3,600 megawatts, which is more than the operating reserve that the system required. That is why we were able to stop load shedding on the 8th of August 2015. Between 8th of August 2015 and 2018 February, when I left, we pursued planned maintenance of about 12%. And contrary to what is happening today, Jan Oberholzer comes out on national television and say, Eskom maintenance activity is not yielding positive results. In my time, we did planned maintenance at the tune of 12%, and that planned maintenance in my time yielded positive results. That is why we were able to meet a highest peak of 35,800 megawatts with only burning 10 million liters of diesel instead of 54 million liters of diesel in 12 months. And we were able to do the required maintenance. It's as simple as that. We also, what is more important, Flo, is that we did not have trips problem in my time. A trip is a definition in a power plant of lack of disciplined execution. If somebody tells you that I've got trips in the power plant, he's simply telling you that we have problem with execution, with disciplined execution. In my time, we had disciplined execution. That is why in my time, none of you had of trips. None of you had of duplics. There were no such things. You never had them because they were not a problem. We managed our problem. We did not play politics. These guys are playing politics. That is why the situation is getting worse. And the professor must hang his head in shame.
I want to talk about the debt you acquired, during the time that you were at Eskom, and what's being called, there's been said that Eskom just can't cope really, and they're just indebted. What do you make of that? And let's make a direct comparison then when we're talking about specifically the issue of Eskom's debt.
Yeah, so Flo, and this is a problem. You can't look at debt alone. There's a concept in business called debts and liabilities. If you say Eskom has got debts of 400 billion rands, you should also be saying are the assets that were procured with that debt. The 400 billion debt of Eskom procured Medupi, it procured Kusile, it procured Ingula, and it procured the return to service of Camden, Hotley, and Komati. So that's what you should be looking at. You should be looking at assets and liabilities. The issue is, Flo, those assets have overrun their costs. And one of the reasons I argue the Zondo Commission was a waste at Eskom is because we are sitting here talking about 400 billion rand debt of Eskom, but he never considered that important. If Chief Justice Zondo did not consider the 400 billion debt of Eskom as important, why should you consider it as important? I will tell you why he did not consider it. It's because there is no Mr. Koko's name there. We can talk about Eskom 400 billion. As soon as we talk about Eskom 400 billion debt, you must talk about Brian James, from Paul Flati, Jen Marokani, Abraham Masango, not Mr. Koko. The reason Judge Zondo did not talk about it is because he will have to go to Brian James, he will have to go to Jen Marokani, he will have to go to Paulo Flati, you'll have to go to Abraham Masango, and those are the darlings of the people of today. Koko's name is not in that 400 billion in debt. That is why Judge Zondo did not care about it. Zondo was just chasing Koko. It was a useless exercise. That is why we are in stage 6 today after State Capture Commission.
Yeah. All right, Matshela Koko, thanks. Many thanks to you, sir. You did get your right to respond, so I will ask you to delete that tweet where you've in fact named me as not giving you a right to respond. That is the former CEO of Eskom.
I commit that I will delete it, and I thank you, Flo.
You're most welcome. Matshela Koko, former CEO there of Eskom, obviously responding to Professor Samson Mabwedi, who had in fact put his name on one of the issues that are problematic at Eskom.